Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the latest instalment of Remote Agile London. Hope you're all doing well this evening and having a good week so far. We've got a good sort of co-located Agile London tonight. We've got Finn he's coming in from Dublin, and we've got Alex who is in Texas. A big co-located Remote Agile London tonight. Just a couple of house rules. I know most of you are aware of these by now, but for any newbies, please can I request that you do remain on mute throughout the event. And if you have any questions, which I really do encourage, please fire them over to me privately in the chat, and I will ask them to our speakers at the end. I find that it just works the best way to stay on mute and have myself sort of MC the event and ask the questions to the speakers at the end. It just really helps with fluidity and gives our speakers the best chance to be able to speak, which is what we're all here to listen to, and answer any questions that you may have. So this evening, we've got Finn Goulding kicking us off. He is founder of the Flow Academy and co-creator of Lighthouse thinking. Our second talk is Alex Kudinov. He is an agility coach and trainer, and his talk is on professional coaching beyond asking questions. So Finn's talk tonight, we're in the middle of a pandemic and businesses are clamoring for agile specialists to dig them out of a hole. Not much has changed over the last few years. Leaders don't know their purpose, transformations keep failing, and millions are being wasted by some of the biggest companies in the world. We need a new approach, a simpler approach, and what we need is lighthouse thinking. So Finn, do you want to just share your screen and I will hand over to you?
Okay, I'll just fire this up. Let me see, I'll get that presented. You see that?
Yeah, that looks great, and audio is fine. So I'll hand over to you now, Finn. There you go.
Oh, great. Okay, well, I'm going to get straight into this. I thought what I'd do before I talk about Lighthouse thinking is just ask a question, and maybe people in the chat could put something out there, which is, what percentages of businesses do you think fail in transformation? And I'll give you a second to think about it, or maybe if you want to put something out there, that's up to you. And then I'm going to let you know. So what McKinsey says, and McKinsey actually say that 70% of all business transformations fail. And actually 85% of all digital transformations fail. So I hope if any of you are working on a transformation, I hope you're in this sort of 15 to 25% there. And I'm going to ask why do they fail? Well, I actually think there's 4 key reasons. And number one is what we call the Agile IT business divide. And by that, what we mean is that when we look at the typical focus of Agile in many organizations is pretty IT based. It's really around the methodologies, DevOps, continuous delivery, cloud, etc. And sometimes that creates a lexicon that keeps the business out of what IT is doing and causes a bit of a barrier. But some companies are quite good, and the business will have adapted themselves, and maybe they're doing a pretty decent approach to portfolio management or product management. Some organizations even have agile risk management, and some of the better ones are working with outside of these yearly budgeting cycles and doing much more budget on demand. But a true way of bridging that gap is to focus a little bit more on business agility. And that's looking at how you discover value and not just manage or deliver it. And we find that a lot of organizations are not so strong in using an agile approach to understanding markets and customers, even using some of their existing assets. A lot of organizations have shut down their innovation teams, and they never think about their ecosystem, and I'll come back to that in a little while. Second thing we see is complexity. Maybe you've seen Dave Snowden's diagram. I think he was a speaker recently about complexity. And what we see is that actually we've been in complex transformations for years. If you go back to the 80s in supply chain management, or even in the 90s, business process reengineering, we're always in some form of complex transformation, and change is happening a lot. And we're about to embark on another set of transformation, I believe, around virtual and augmented reality, particularly as we're all working at home. But why not simplify is the question that we come up with, which is, in some ways, complexity has been caused by executives who've designed businesses this way because they don't understand their operating model or how to regenerate it and keep it fresh. Also, executives have a tendency to create hierarchies that suit their needs, but not necessarily the flow of work or how you actually address customers. And actually, for us, it sounds obvious, but the most complex, with all this complexity, the most simple thing to do is to try and simplify things. And part of that's also to harness the collective intelligence of people in the organizations, employees at all levels. And we very rarely see that. So when we get called in to help a company that's having a problem with transformation, we do a lot of interviews, and this is the typical kind of feedback that we hear, that the management structure is too complicated, is there are too many platforms, there are too many contractors who are over outsourced, we have a dictatorial management style, leaders don't understand Agile, the senior leadership team doesn't prioritize. It's a very negative thing, but we see this time and time again, and this is feedback from some of the biggest companies in the world. The third thing we see are the actual core platforms. So for instance, your banking platform, your e-commerce platform, your core platform. We actually believe that this is the single biggest factor for transformational failure. And the reason for that is what we see is many organizations really want to have a full digital experience for customers and have a constant learning and enterprise, the top right-hand corner. But what they actually end up doing quite often is putting a digital front end on an app, or an app on their legacy estate. Or you might even find in the bottom left-hand corner, a lot of legacy estate, lots of platforms knitted together and creating this sort of single view of customer. Very few organizations are completely offline, but Primark and a few others were and got caught during the pandemic. But more often than not, it's just putting this digital front end onto a legacy system, not replacing that platform at all. You're being slowed down by that lowest common denominator. I couldn't resist using this because this kind of, for me, kind of explains it quite well. You have this impression that you have this great digital experience, but really underneath you still have the legacy platform alive and well. What we see is that the most successful companies actually address those legacy platforms and replace them. Least just adds more. And we've seen one organization with 64 platforms that they've knitted together with a single view of customer. And that really is sweating the assets too long. Fourth thing is operating models. In a transformation, very rarely does an organization get to remodel its operating model. In fact, the transformation itself never really designs or arrives at that new model that a company is looking for, that full digital experience, for instance. And quite often people say, what is an operating model? So I thought I'd put in this slide. I mean, theoretically, it is the technical infrastructure, management systems, hierarchy, and relationships that allow you to deliver value. But an easier way of doing this, if any of you have done an MBA, you would have seen the Porter operating model. It's been around for years and years and years. What Michael Porter did there was try and describe the primary activities of a business, how they actually work together, and the supporting activities, IT, human resources, etc. Many businesses still are based upon this operating model. What I've been doing in the past is looking at how to improve that by helping an organization to flow. So we have a flow operating model. So in organizations, we look at how they deliver value, but also how they manage value and discover value. What you're doing is delivering products and services to your customers or your partners, and that's the ecosystem. That's part of what you're trying to generate, grow, expand, and find adjacent businesses. And in fact, you need to have great core platforms, obviously secure these days. Core capabilities is great people, and those people having the opportunity to learn, but also to learn about customers, etc. So for us, that's more of a modern operating model that many businesses should really strive for. And what Lighthouse thinking is really a set of concepts and actions that allow you to generate the right operating model for your own context. This is not like, let's go and get the Spotify model. Let's go and get somebody else's model and try and implement it. What we're trying to do here is find a way of helping you to start fixing parts of that model that may be broken, particularly, let's say, the core platforms or products that you're not delivering. So how do you transform an operating model? It sounds quite complicated, isn't it? Well, we start with something called transformation sprints. And transformation sprint for us is about 3 4 weeks of getting those perspectives, that analysis, those issues, finding out from people what is not working or what is working in an organization, and trying to define where they currently are, their as-is state. What is the current business model? Then with the leadership team, try and find, well, where do you want to get to? What does that future look like? Is that future totally online, or is it into new products and services? And we play all this back to leadership and executive teams, all the disconnects and all the reasons why either that transformation has failed, or it could fail if it's a brand new client that we're working with. And what we try to get them to do is define a single Lighthouse project, just one project. That project is, in our opinion, it's a small step strategy of simplifying a particular issue, a problem, a product development, even the transformation that become too complex. And that Lighthouse project, just one team, one focus, it allows you to scale down the challenge and actually skill up that team. And that team then, using cell division, we call it, create another team, and then cut that team in half and create another team, and another team, and another team. So you're getting the team to self-learn, to actually implement new ways of working themselves, but also challenging and fixing this problem as they go along. And what you do then is you're constantly regenerating through a Lighthouse project the issues that you'll have in your operating model. And I say, we find that core platforms is a big issue. So therefore, we might be able to say to an organization, the right thing to do here to build a new platform is to go product by product. Let's build a new product, top to bottom, and deliver that on its own. Quite often, there'll be issues around how an organization manages its value, its portfolio of work. So we take that, we focus on it and look at how can we improve this, how can we repoint that portfolio of work to deliver value, and so on. So, I mean, the key ingredients is really just scaling down that big problem into units of work in order to skill up the team, but it's also looking at some form of innovation in customer experience and product development is usually the key, the one thing that if you can deliver one product in a new way of working, you're on that transformational journey. And as I say, if it's attached to building a new platform, that's even more exciting. And that is at the heart of the operating model. New ways of work is also there as well, but also with collective intelligence, getting people to work together and educating leaders about what it means to remodel the business in an agile way through small steps. And who will lead the change? Well, in our view, we've been working with Agile coaches. So we've been working with Agile coaches in expanding their knowledge outside of IT, and much more into the business and much more into business remodeling. And we're working with a group of coaches right now who are starting to enhance their skills to be able to work in this space. We think these coaches can actually do this, and part of it's been inspired by this. I did a post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, which got over 30,000 reactions, which was this, I call it my COVID leadership change curve. We found that many organizations are going down the curve at the moment in terms of looking at workforce reduction and selling assets, etc. But the right thing, we believe, is to start building up towards a new world, a new set of customers, maybe using assets that you already have or building out new ecosystems. In every single disruptive issue and every single time there's massive market crashes, etc., new startups appear, businesses remodel themselves, they morph. And this is what we want to get across to organizations. Anyway, so the key takeaways in all of this: an agile business needs more than an IT agile method. It really has to become more skilled at creating customer value. We don't see organizations talk about customer value. They just talk about their existing business model and the way that they're delivering products today. Complexity definitely is the killer, particularly around core platforms, and simplification is really what's required. It shouldn't be that difficult. And if you can do that, if you can think about how you can approach a very, very big issue and just break it down using a Lighthouse approach, it sounds very simple, and it should be, and it is. It does make change more manageable. Actually, understanding a business model actually can help you remodel your own organization. And I think that many organizations don't understand their business models. And if you don't understand it, you can't remodel it. And that was it.
Finn, thank you very much. Excellent talk. Really enjoyed that one. Do you want to just unshare your screen?
I will do.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed. So, Alex, have I got you there? Have I got your audio?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. So, just to introduce Alex, he's an agility coach and trainer. His talk tonight is professional coaching beyond asking questions. One of the misconceptions about coaching is that all coaches do is ask powerful questions. While it is true that great coaches ask a lot of great questions, which build a lot of awareness for the client, professional coaching goes well beyond just questioning. If a coach sticks to asking questions only, it quickly turns into an interrogation. In this short talk, Alex looked at other competencies every coach should possess for their coaching work. Alex, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Oliver. Thanks for introduction, and Finn, really good talk. And we will transition from what coaches or what other Agile practitioners should know and what they should bring to the table when they come to the organization is their competencies and their skills that they bring alongside and they use to help the organization to be more agile. I'm kind of not a big fan of agile transformation moniker. So with that said, really quick reminder, this is kind of the oldest but goodest. This comes from Agile Coaching Institute and kind of framework for Agile coaching competencies. So Agile coaches they can really move across all these 4 quadrants. On the left, you have content. So they bring in some training skills, some mentoring skills, but they are also very comfortable on the process side where they use professional coaching competencies and facilitation skills. And this framework is based on a very solid foundation of business, technology, and transformational knowledge. What we see in the marketplace that coaches are really good at training, they are really good at consulting, some are good at mentoring, and such frameworks as Scrum promote facilitation really strongly. What we don't really see a lot in the marketplace and across the skilled Agile coaches are the very good foundation of professional coaching. And so one of the annoying part that we see is when Agile coach comes to the organization and they think that as a coach, I can only ask question. And that's a trap, especially when, when they are basically required to give some information to the organization. My partner, Sherry Silas, she ran a coaching organization for a big company here, and she basically says that the primary concern and primary complaint from the managers was, I'm asking the coach how I do these things and what I get in return. How would you want to do this thing? So that's a failure of the coach, and that's the failure of understanding the coaching competencies. And another fallacy is, in coaching, we say that people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, and we are not fixing things. Taken to the extreme, this results in, as a coach, I cannot help people or cannot help individuals or team by telling. All I need is to be asking questions. So professional coaching is much more than that. Professional coaching is the balance between the support and the challenge. If we are only supporting our organizations and individual we are coaching, we fall into this cozy club when we are kind of cuddling our coachees, our clients, and they're not making any progress. If we bring too much stress, too much challenge without much of rapport built in the process, we introduce a lot of stress in the organization. The high performance coaching lives in the quadrant where we have enough support and enough amount of challenge for the people to achieve their goals. At the same time, a lot of coaches misses the point of coaching, focusing on the problems. Consultants are focusing on the problems. We are brought in to solve specific problem, we solve it and we get out. The coach goal is much broader. We're not looking at the problem itself. We are looking at the system behind the problem, whether it's a whole person or the whole team or maybe the whole organization. And as coaches, we must be very comfortable with this pyramid, that we need to understand that at the top, we deal with identity, whether it's individual or a team, that is underlined by values and beliefs, which we probably need to explore. And then this whole thing is underlined by capabilities, behaviors, and environment. So Agile coaches and code professional coaches, as we come to the work to organizations, we need to be cognizant and we need to recognize at which level we are working. And this is the constellation of all the professional coaching competencies that real professional coach is very capable of using and knows when to use them. So first and foremost, we clarify the goal. We create the coaching agreement, whether it's agreement for the whole engagement or agreement just for a specific coaching session or just for specific problems that we are asked to help to solve. So here we clarify, what do you want to achieve? How are we going to measure success when we achieve the success? How do we know that we got there? Why do we even spend time on trying to resolve this question? What needs to be considered? So this is creating coaching agreement to give the coachee, to give the team as much clarity or understanding about their goals as possible. And what is really surprising, if you build really great coaching agreement, some coaches, some clients find a lot of answers while building this agreement, not even going into the meat of the coaching session. At the same time, it gives you a really great opportunity when you get to the end of the session to go back and ask the question, what have you learned? How are we doing on achieving our goals? So you basically measure your progress throughout the session. The second competency is building trust and rapport, or building trust and intimacy in ICF parlance. The coachee, we want the coaching session to be open. We want it to be built on trust, in a very safe space. And if you as coach come to this space and you say, hey, you can trust me, everything stays in this session, that's not merely enough. You need to build connection with the client. You need to respect their work. You need to respect them as whole and naturally creative and resourceful. The expression of support, expression of normalizing feelings, because the clients usually come to the session with anxieties about performance, about their actions, with uncertainties what they do. They are looking for support, not only for the sounding board. And encouragement to fully express themselves. Remember, we're talking about whole person, not their problems. So bring the whole person into the session. Express yourself and let's look at all the levels of that pyramid so that we actually get to the underlying problem, to the root problem. How you show up, how the coach show up is absolutely important, and we see a lot of people missing this mark, missing this competency. Again, responding to the whole person, not to the problem. What a lot of coaches don't get is that coaching is based on immense and endless curiosity. We people are judgment machines. The moment we hear something, we judge that, and it's automatic reaction. You cannot basically say, I'm not judging. You are judging, and I'm judging. It's the matter of how much control you have over that reaction, and whether you can switch that to the statement, I'm curious what's going on in his world, in her world. I'm curious what's going on in this team. I'm curious what their map looks like and how they arrive to this state. And the coaching relationship is that of partnership. It's not of the mentorship. As I work with the organization and coachees, I realize that they know so much more about their stuff, about their context, about their interests than I do. And I'm not coming as an SME to give them advice. I'm coming as the process guy, as somebody who can hold the mirror and help them through the process to achieve their goals. Listening is paramountly important, and listening is not hearing. Sometimes we hear things, but we don't really internalize and listen that. We are listening at what's called internal listen, level 1, and usually people listen to respond. So, hey, I went to this holiday to Spain and it was great, and probably the response you would hear, yeah, I just got from another holiday from Spain and it was really great. That's listening for response. Coaches, really great coaches, are listening to understand. They are listening for the whole person. They are listening for their values, for their beliefs, for their underlying concerns, for something that is not actually said. Not actually what's said, but not what's not said. We are listening for language, for emotions, for changes in voice, and for their behaviors and how they see their world. And the great coaches, they master the art of silence. Silence is important. We step over people, we step over our coaches, we interrupt their thought process by stacking up questions and kind of going fast and fast. We need to slow down, we need to observe silence, and we need to give them space and time to process and to think. We start with that powerful questions are great tool, and they are great, and there are many more competencies beyond powerful questions. But powerful questions is the competency. What we usually see is that a lot of Agile coaches are asking transactional and factual questions. They go into investigation, what happened, which is great. If you go into retrospective and you ever used 5 whys, that's an analytical tool that gets to the root of the problem. In coaching, we don't analyze things. We are building awareness, and analysis and awareness, these are two things that don't go along. So that's why we actually in coaching, we try not to ask the why questions, because why questions are driving towards analytical response rather than building awareness. The transformational question, on the other hand, they are forward-looking and they contain that piece of immense curiosity. I'm curious what's going on with you, and I'm curious not on my behalf. I'm curious what you will learn when you realize that, when you verbalize that. It drives clients' learning into the direction that clients want to learn. It opens clients' mind beyond the current situation, beyond their current emotional state, beyond their current thinking, and hopefully expand their world. And again, remember, this is not mentorship. This is not a training session. This is the partnership. We are in it together. A great analogy I heard from my mentor is that coaching, sometimes she imagines it as the walk in a dark cave, when the coach holds a flashlight and might turn the light to different directions and highlight some features of the cave and say, hey, that looks interesting. Would you like to go there? And it's up to the client to say yes or no and choose their direction. And last but not least, the direct communication. Direct communication is important. And remember 2 dimensions, the support and the challenge. Direct communication is not beating around the bush. The coach, it's not only about asking questions. Coach is the human being, and very smart human being at that. We notice a lot, we hear a lot. When we notice and hear, we need to say what we notice. We need to say what we hear. We need to share our observations, share our own emotions, share our own intuition. And this plays into building awareness of the client. And when we do share these, we need to remember that it's still the client world and we are guests there. The client is always right. Nobody gets out of the bed in the morning with some ideas that I'm going to do bad for myself. Everybody has positive intent for everything they do. So that's their world. They're coming to it with positive intent, and we are guests there, and we offer our observations and intuition and what we notice, and hold that lightly. It's an offering to the client. And just say, and we just need to say what we mean without beating around the bush, without using coaching jargon, without using some industry, whatever things that we got used to use in our training and classes. So bringing this all together, just to remind you, it starts with a great coaching agreement when you solidify your goal, when you basically chart your path, and when you give client a lot of visibility into what we are going to talk about, why we're going to talk about it, what's important about it, what success look like, what measurement of success look like, what do we need to consider in order to get to that success. We build trust and intimacy. We show up as professional coaches. We notice the whole client. We listen at level 2 or level 3, where we notice not only what is said, but most importantly, what's not said. We ask powerful, transformational, not transactional questions. And we practice direct communication. We say what we see, and we don't hold back because it's about the client. We are serving the client there. And if we do these things right, 2 things that we do in the coaching is we're building awareness for the client, expanding their world, expanding their view of their current situation. And we are building their actions and provide them with a framework for accountability. The difference is we're not holding them accountable. We are building their accountability muscle. And with that said, that's my short talk. Thank you so much. At Tandem Coaching Academy, we teach more about professional coaching skills. So if you're interested, check us out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Great talk. Really enjoyed that one too. So a couple of questions have come in. A few less than normal, guys. So now is your time to ping over some questions to ask both or either one of the speakers. Just message them to me privately, and I will ask them from there. So the first question has come in to you both. So Finn, if you answer this one first, as Alex has just spoken, and then from there, Alex, once Finn has completed his answer, you jump straight in. So the question is, in your own opinions, how do you feel this pandemic has changed the way we work in addition to home working?
That's a great one, because with the kind of work that I was doing prior to this, it was all about visualization. It was all about being together, great social interaction in the office, etc. And the thing about it is it's less about working at home. It's more about how do you work effectively, using the kind of tools and techniques that we have. I mean, maybe I've got a stack of Post-it notes now that I would have run out, if I'd been working different sites, etc. So we're doing less of this kind of working together face to face, and I kind of miss that, to be honest with you. So I'm not really sure if we've found the tools and techniques yet to replicate it in a remote way.
So from the coaching perspective, what I see is that when people working from home, they bring their home world, they bring something that they never brought into the office when we were in the office. And when we coach people, when we go into coaching session, we are looking at the whole person. And it's kind of interesting that this COVID world gave myself a lot more opportunity, a lot wider window into my coach's world. I can see more. I can see their distractions or what they are thinking about, what they are concerned about. And it brings a different dimension to the coaching. It brings more of the whole person. And that's where the coaching skills are absolutely important. If you're still stuck with the solving problems, probably it's the time to look at the person in front of you.
Thank you very much, guys, for your answers. Finn, how do you feel about keeping teams together instead of dividing them? Do the benefits passing on their knowledge outweigh a well-connected, self-organizing team?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of having persistent teams. I've always felt that's the right thing to do, particularly in a mature organization. And I've been a CIO or a CTO for many years. I always try to make that happen because self-organizing and self-managing teams is something I believe in. But when you're doing a transformation and you're moving from one skill set to another, the best way of getting everybody on the same page is using what we call cell division. So a team of, say, 6 people, once they become proficient, break that into 2 teams of 3, add in 3 new people, they become proficient, and then do it again and again and again. Otherwise, what you often find in organizations is that you're sent off on training or something. And I think the real world of actually learning how to use these techniques and taking small steps is a better way of getting you to the point where you can become a persistent team in the future. But I do believe in that.
Thanks, Finn. Alex, can you share differences between coaching and mentoring, and what skills differences might be between the two?
Sure. So the first big difference is the relationship. The mentorship is basically a very deep relationship between somebody who is an SME in the industry or organization and who is there to share experiences and who is there to help the person to get into a new role, get into the organization, and support that person kind of professional walk. The coaching capabilities or coaching competencies are completely different. Coaches are usually not SMEs in the content. Remember that ACI model? Like I coach executives in consulting industry. I've never been in consulting, and I'm really successful at coaching them. What I'm really good at is the process, is listening to them, is reflecting to them, is holding the mirror and basically telling them what I'm hearing and what they might not be hearing. So the coaching does not dwell into does not go into the content, while mentorship is completely on the content side.
Thank you. And a question has come in for you both. So Finn, you jump in and answer first, as Alex has just spoken. Do you think agility is thought of as a silver bullet these days by larger companies who are just being introduced to Agile? And how would you counter that?
That's a good question. And it is being seen as that because many organizations confuse, and I think Alex mentioned this as well, but they confuse transformation with agile transformation. Therefore, we need to get that agility thing. And then you find that the big 4 consultancy tends to sell them a Spotify model or some other scaled framework that is difficult to implement. And then it's great news for us because we come in and fix that transformation once it's broken.
Yeah. I would start with my favorite, that there is no such thing as Spotify model. And Spotify said very openly just that, we don't have a model. So from my perspective, agility is a state for the organization and how they think about their being and how they are working towards being fit for purpose. And I do appreciate that agility got a little bit hijacked, and we are thinking about agile transformation, that here's the state where we are, and we have that some destination, some coveted destination where we need you, a consultant, to come in and chart a course for us. So for me, agility is a state, and how you think about that state, I can help you figure out what that state looks like, right? However, what I encourage the clients to do is to think about it, not destination, but the path and the journey, and how you scale that journey and what that journey would look like a year, 3, 5 years down the road. So it's a great idea. It's a little bit hijacked at this point. What we're going to do about it as an industry, it's still to be figured out.
Thank you very much indeed. And that does draw us to a close for our questions for this evening. An absolutely massive thanks and appreciation to both Finn and Alex, as I say, joining us from Dublin and Houston, Texas this evening. So We're very, very grateful to hear from you both. Thank you again to everyone who has joined the call as well. As I say, you know, without speakers, without our audience, these events wouldn't happen. Again, I do say it, if you want to speak and you have a subject that you want to talk about, please drop me a message on LinkedIn. My name's Alex Scriven. I'm pretty easy to find, so do please drop me a message. If you are looking for work, please also do message. I will do my very best to connect you to the right people within Oliver Bernard, or try and help you myself. And again, if you are hiring for your company, if you are looking for anyone, not just within Agile, you know, we also cover software development, product testing, DevOps. If you are looking to hire as well and you need some help in these times, we've certainly got some cracking candidates looking at the moment. We are back next week. We've got Stuart Corrigan, Darryl Buxey and Amy Thompson talking next week. Same time, 6 p.m. next Wednesday. So I just want to say thank you once again to Finn and Alex, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.